Theorist contact. The Galactic Confederation had existed for over 12,000 cycles, uniting nearly 400 sentient species across 3 spiral arms of the Milky Way. Their civilization was built on careful classification, meticulous documentation, and rigid hierarchy. At the core of their understanding of the universe was the planetary classification system, a comprehensive framework that categorized worlds based on environmental conditions, gravitational forces, atmospheric composition, and biological hazards. Class 1 planets were paradise worlds, temperate, stable, with minimal predation and abundant resources. The most advanced species in the Confederation evolved on such worlds, developing sophisticated minds instead of hardy bodies. On the opposite end were Class 12 planets, the dreaded Deathworlders. These hellscapes featured extreme gravity, toxic atmospheres, deadly radiation, aggressive predators, and unpredictable weather patterns. Few species evolved on such worlds, and those that did were considered primitive, brutal, and unlikely to achieve spaceflight without outside intervention. The Confederation's exploration vessel, Harmonious Discovery, drifted at the edge of a previously unmapped solar system. Chief Scientist Vereen peered through elongated eyes at the holographic display, his translucent fingers manipulating data streams with practiced precision. "Curious," he murmured, his voice a melodic trill. "The third planet shows signs of advanced technology, yet our preliminary scans categorize it as a Class 10 death world." Ambassador Zurax, the diplomatic leader of the expedition, glided across the command deck, their bioluminescent skin pulsing with skepticism. "Are you certain, Vereen? No Class 9 or higher world has ever produced a spacefaring civilization without our guidance." "The evidence is undeniable," Vereen replied, expanding the hologram to reveal a planet wrapped in artificial satellites, radio signals, and visible evidence of sprawling urban centers. "And they appear to be isolates, no sign of previous Confederation contact." "What are these creatures called?" asked Security Director Call, their armored exoskeleton clicking as they moved closer to the display. Vereen consulted the data. "They call themselves humans and their planet Earth. Their atmospheric composition is nitrogen-oxygen with high levels of water vapor. Surface gravity is 9.8 meters per second squared, nearly twice the Confederation average." Cal's sensory appendages twitched with disbelief. "And they evolved there naturally, without genetic engineering." "Apparently so," Vereen confirmed. "Their biology suggests adaptation to high predation pressure, extreme temperature variations, and periodic natural disasters. They possess endoskeletal structures with remarkable tensile strength, redundant organ systems, and extraordinary regenerative capabilities." Ambassador Zurax's skin shifted to contemplative blue. "The Council must be informed. This discovery challenges our fundamental understanding of evolutionary progression." They paused, considering the implications. "Prepare a first contact protocol. We will approach with caution." 3 standard cycles later, the diplomatic mission arrived in Earth orbit. The human governments, initially fractious and suspicious, eventually agreed to receive the Confederation representatives at a neutral facility in what they called Switzerland. Ambassador Zurax led the delegation, flanked by Vereen, Call, and specialists in xenobiology, sociology, and linguistics. The humans had sent their own delegation, political leaders, military officials, and scientific experts from various nations. The human representative, Secretary General Matsuda, stepped forward. She was smaller than Zurax had expected, barely reaching the height of a juvenile Phyraxian. Her frame seemed fragile, with exposed skin that lacked any obvious protective adaptations. "On behalf of humanity, I welcome you to Earth," she said, her voice steady despite the historic moment. "We hope this meeting marks the beginning of peaceful exchange between our peoples." Zurax performed the traditional Confederation greeting, their skin rippling through the spectrum in the sacred pattern. "The Galactic Confederation extends greetings and fellowship to the people of Earth. We come in peace, seeking knowledge and mutual understanding. The initial exchanges were careful, measured, each side revealing only what they deemed safe. The humans showed remarkable adaptability, quickly mastering the translator technology provided by the Confederation. By the third day, technical discussions began in earnest. "Your species has achieved impressive technological development," Vereen observed during a scientific exchange, "particularly considering the environmental challenges of your homeworld." Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the human delegation's lead scientist, smiled. "What challenges do you mean, specifically?" Vereen gestured with 4 of his 8 appendages. "Your high-gravity environment, atmospheric volatility, extreme temperature variations, tectonic instability, high radiation exposure, biological pathogens, predatory pressures. Those are just normal conditions for us," Dr. Rodriguez interrupted, her expression curious. "Are other worlds not like Earth?" The revelation stunned the Confederation representatives. What they considered extreme hardship, the humans considered normal. What's more, the humans expressed interest, even excitement, about potentially visiting worlds that the Confederation classified as even more dangerous than Earth. On the 5th day, the humans offered a tour of one of their research facilities. The Confederation delegation was escorted through laboratories and testing chambers, observing human scientists working with hazardous materials, extreme temperatures, and radiation levels that would kill most Confederation species instantly. "Is this safe for you?" Cal asked, watching the human researcher handle a container of what their sensors identified as highly radioactive material, protected only by what appeared to be remarkably thin shielding. "With proper precautions, yes," the researcher replied casually, "though we're always pushing the boundaries of what's possible." That phrase, "pushing the boundaries," became increasingly concerning as the tour continued. The humans showed them military hardware, spacecraft designed to endure conditions no Confederation vessel could withstand, and medical technologies focused on rapid healing and adaptation. During a demonstration of human physical capabilities, a team of what they called athletes performed feats of strength, endurance, and speed that seemed impossible for creatures of their size. One human lifted nearly 3 times their body weight over their head. Another ran continuously for what the translator converted to almost 2 standard hours. "This is merely recreational for us," explained their guide, a military officer named General Okafor. "Our special forces can perform at much higher levels when necessary." That evening, Ambassador Zurax convened an emergency meeting of the delegation. "We may have severely underestimated these humans," they began, their skin now a troubled gray. "Their world isn't merely a death world by our standards. It's a crucible that has forged them into something we've never encountered before." Vereen projected his latest findings. "Their cellular structure allows them to survive radiation doses that would kill most Confederation species. Their musculature can generate force disproportionate to their mass. Their nervous system can process pain, yet allow them to function through injuries that would incapacitate our most resilient member species. But most concerning," Cal added, "is their psychology. They exhibit predatory pattern recognition, territorial aggression, and pack-hunting behaviors alongside high cognition and technological innovation. The combination is unprecedented." "What do you suggest?" Zurax asked, their skin darkening further. "Should we recommend quarantine protocols? They already have primitive interplanetary capabilities. It's only a matter of time before they develop true FTL travel." Vereen's elongated fingers tapped thoughtfully against the console. "I believe we should invite them to join the Confederation, under careful observation, of course. Better to integrate them than to face them as potential adversaries later." The cultural exchange dinner that night was tense, despite the humans' attempts at hospitality. They had prepared foods compatible with each delegation member's biology, composed music incorporating Confederation harmonics, and displayed genuine curiosity about their visitors' customs. Ambassador Zurax stood to deliver the prepared invitation. "The Confederation Council extends an invitation to humanity to begin the process of potential membership. However, there are certain evaluations that all prospective members must undergo. Secretary General Matsuda's expression remained diplomatic, but her posture shifted slightly. What kind of evaluations? A series of trials to determine your species' capabilities and compatibility with Confederation principles, Xerax explained. It is standard procedure. What Xerax didn't say was that the Council had authorized specially modified trials, ones designed to test the full extent of human capabilities, and more importantly, to assess whether they posed a threat to the established order. We accept your invitation, Matsuda replied after consulting briefly with her colleagues. Humanity looks forward to demonstrating our worthiness as partners in the stars. As the delegation returned to their vessel that night, Cal approached Ambassador Xerax privately. Do you think we're making a mistake? These humans, they're not like other species we've encountered. Xerax's skin pulsed with complex emotions. Perhaps, but the Confederation has existed for 12,000 cycles by adapting to new challenges. They gazed back at the blue-green planet below. Though I suspect this challenge may be unlike any we've faced before. The harmonious Discovery departed Earth orbit the next day, leaving behind communication equipment and the formal invitation to the trials. As they accelerated toward the Confederation core worlds, Vareem made one final observation that lingered in the minds of the entire delegation. The humans call their planet Earth, but in our scans, we found evidence that some of their ancient cultures named it differently. One term that appeared repeatedly translates roughly to the realm of the living who endure suffering. They evolved on a world they themselves recognized as cruel, and instead of being destroyed by it, they conquered it. What does that tell us about their potential? Nobody aboard the vessel had an answer. The CHALENG. 6 months after first contact, humanity stood ready to face the Confederation trials. A specially constructed space station orbited Jupiter's moon Europa, serving as neutral ground for the proceedings. Representatives from 27 Confederation species had gathered to observe, analyze, and judge whether humans deserved a place among the stars. Commander Sarah Chen surveyed her team of 12 specialists, scientists, engineers, soldiers, and diplomats, each selected from Earth's finest. They represented humanity's diversity, different nations, backgrounds, and disciplines. What united them was their exceptional capability under pressure and unwavering determination. Remember, she addressed them during their final briefing, we're not just taking a test. We're making a statement about humanity's place in the universe. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, their xenobiologist, nodded. The Confederation documentation suggests they've designed these trials specifically to challenge our Deathworld adaptations. They want to see our limits. Then let's show them we don't have any, replied Major Yuki Tanaka, security specialist and former Special Forces operator. Her confidence was echoed in the determined expressions around the room. The trials would take place over 12 Earth days, each day featuring challenges designed to test different aspects of species capability: intelligence, strength, endurance, adaptability, cooperation, ethics, and more. Humans would compete alongside representatives from other prospective member species, all under the watchful eyes of the Confederation Council. Ambassador Xerax presided over the opening ceremony, their skin now a formal purple. Welcome to the Confederation Compatibility Trials. Each species here seeks to demonstrate their worthiness to join our ancient community of worlds. May you all perform to your highest capabilities. The first trial focused on intellectual problem-solving. Specifically, the ability to understand and manipulate Confederation technology. The human team watched as the Vrel, methane-breathing crystalline entities from a low-gravity world, effortlessly interfaced with the provided systems, completing the challenge in record time. When humanity's turn came, they faced unexpected difficulties. The interfaces were designed for beings with fundamentally different sensory capabilities. The control surfaces respond to bioelectric fields, Dr. Elena Rodriguez observed after several failed attempts. Our nervous system generates electrical signals, but not in the pattern they're expecting. Commander Chen considered the problem. Can we build an adapter? With what? Dr. Rodriguez gestured to the empty testing chamber. We weren't allowed to bring tools. Major Tanaka stepped forward, examining the alien technology. What if we don't need tools? She placed her hands on the control surface and closed her eyes. Our bodies generate electricity. Maybe we just need to modulate it. Through a combination of controlled breathing, focused concentration, and precise muscle contractions, Tanaka managed to generate electrical patterns close enough to activate the system. The other team members quickly learned the technique, and they completed the trial, not with the elegance of the Vrel, but with unmistakable human ingenuity. The Confederation observers murmured among themselves. This was not the approach they had anticipated. The second day brought physical challenges in a high-gravity environment. The test chamber's gravity was set to 3 times Earth normal, punishing for humans, but comfortable for the Drakh. Massive silicon-based entities evolved on a super-Earth. The human team entered the chamber and immediately dropped to their knees, their bodies struggling against the crushing force. The Drakh representatives observed with what translated as amusement. They cannot even stand, one commented. Perhaps they should withdraw. Commander Chen gritted her teeth and forced herself upright. Adaptability is humanity's specialty, she gasped, her voice strained but determined. Give us a moment. Over the next hour, the human team conditioned their bodies to the extreme gravity. They developed techniques to distribute their weight, modified their movements to conserve energy, and gradually began completing the assigned tasks. By the end of the trial, they were moving with deliberate efficiency, having adapted to conditions that should have incapacitated them. The pattern continued through subsequent challenges. Humans rarely excelled at the initial parameters of any test, but demonstrated remarkable ability to analyze, adapt, and overcome. They treated each failure as information, each setback as an opportunity to innovate. During the atmospheric toxicity trial, when their protective gear malfunctioned, Dr. Nkrumah devised filtration masks from available materials, while the team held their breath for astonishing periods. In the extreme temperature challenge, they used mental techniques to control their shivering and sweating responses, outlasting species specifically evolved for thermal regulation. By the 6th day, attitudes among the Confederation observers had shifted. Some watched the humans with growing respect, others with unmistakable concern. High Counselor Trezek, a venerable member of the founding species, approached Ambassador Xirax privately. These humans are unsettling. They communicated via secure channel. They do not excel in any single area, yet they refuse to accept limitation. They transform weakness into strength through sheer will. Is that not admirable? Xirax questioned. It is unprecedented, Trezek replied. And what is unprecedented is potentially dangerous. They approach every challenge like predators stalking prey, analyzing, adapting, conquering. What happens when they applied this mindset to the Confederation itself? The conversation reflected growing divisions within the Confederation hierarchy. The Adaptive Coalition, led by species from moderately challenging worlds, advocated for human inclusion, seeing potential benefits from their unique perspectives. The Preservation Front, dominated by species from paradise worlds, argued for stricter oversight or even quarantine measures. The humans remained oblivious to these political machinations, focused entirely on the challenges before them. Each trial pushed them further, demanding more physically, mentally, and emotionally. They supported each other, compensating for individual weaknesses with collective strength. On the 9th day came the cooperation trial, where species had to work together to survive a simulated catastrophe. The humans were partnered with the Vrel, despite their fundamentally different biology and communication methods. Initially, the partnership seemed doomed. The crystalline Vrel communicated through vibration patterns unintelligible to human senses, while the Vrel could not comprehend human vocal speech. We need a shared language, Commander Chen realized, something both species can produce and interpret. Using simple percussion on available surfaces, the humans established a rudimentary code of taps and pauses. The vril, able to sense vibrations, quickly grasped the pattern. Within hours, the unlikely partners had developed a functional communication system and began coordinating their efforts. By the end of the trial, they had not only survived the simulated disaster, but had established a genuine rapport. The vril representative later communicated to the Confederation Council that they found the humans adaptively compatible beyond expected parameters. Not every species was so impressed. The Drakh filed a formal complaint, claiming the humans displayed evolutionary aggression patterns inconsistent with Confederation harmony. Their grievance cited the intensity with which humans approach challenges, their refusal to accept designed limitations, and their disturbing ability to function through pain thresholds that should render conscious action impossible. The complaint triggered a special council session. For 3 days, while the trials continued, the Confederation's highest authorities debated the human question. Some argued that humanity represented a valuable new perspective. Others warned that introducing a species with such predatory adaptations could destabilize 12 millennia of carefully maintained balance. The debate remained unresolved when the final trial began, a survival challenge on an uninhabited Class 12 death world. The selected planet featured gravity 1.5 times Earth normal, atmospheric toxins, extreme temperature variations, and indigenous predators evolved for efficient killing. Each species would send 3 representatives. The humans selected Commander Chen, Major Tanaka, and Dr. Nkrumah. Their objective was simple: survive for 3 planetary rotations and reach an extraction point. No weapons were provided, only basic survival tools and environmental suits calibrated to each species' biological needs. As the human team prepared to depart, Ambassador Zirax approached Commander Chen privately. "I feel I should warn you," they said, their skin a troubled gray-green. "There are elements within the Confederation who see your species as a potential threat. This final trial has been modified to test your limits more severely than is standard." Chen's expression remained composed, but her eyes hardened slightly. "Are you saying this trial is designed to make us fail?" "Not exactly," Zirax replied carefully. "But the parameters have been adjusted to place you at maximum disadvantage. The environmental conditions have been calibrated to stress human physiology specifically." Chen nodded slowly. "Thank you for the warning, Ambassador. But humanity has been surviving disadvantageous conditions since we first evolved. It's what we do best." As she turned to join her team at the shuttle bay, Chen didn't see the complex wave of colors that passed across Zirax's skin. A Confederation expression that had no human equivalent, but roughly translated to admiration tinged with fear. The final trial was about to begin, and with it, humanity's future among the stars would be decided, one way or another. Paradigm HFY. The descent to the unnamed Class 12 death world was rough, atmospheric turbulence battering the transport pods like toys. Commander Sarah Chen gripped her restraints as their vessel shuddered through clouds of caustic vapor. Beside her, Major Tanaka checked their survival gear one final time while Dr. Nkrumah reviewed environmental data on a portable scanner. Gravity 1.6 times Earth normal, atmospheric oxygen content marginal, but breathable with filtration. Ambient temperature currently 43 degrees Celsius, Nkrumah reported, his voice steady despite the violent descent. Toxic particulates in the air, high UV radiation, and biological signatures indicating predatory life forms within 2 kilometers of our landing zone. Chen nodded. Standard Tuesday, then. The joke earned tired smiles from her teammates. Gallows humor, another human adaptation to stress. Their pod impacted with bone-jarring force, deploying stabilizers that prevented it from rolling down the rocky incline where they'd landed. Emergency systems hissed, equalizing pressure before the hatch slid open, revealing their home for the next 3 days. The landscape was harsh, jagged rock formations jutting from cracked earth, sparse vegetation with thorns and serrated edges, and a blood-red sky churning with electrical storms. In the distance, they could see other pods landing, carrying the Drak and Vrel teams, along with representatives from 4 other candidate species. First priority: secure water and defensible shelter, Chen ordered as they unloaded their minimal supplies. Then we established contact with the other teams. Tanaka surveyed the terrain with military precision. There's a rock formation about half a kilometer east, might provide cover from those storms, and potential water collection, if the weather patterns include precipitation. They moved out immediately, quickly discovering the challenge of walking in higher gravity. Each step required conscious effort, muscles straining against the increased weight of their bodies and gear. The heat was oppressive, drawing sweat that their filtration systems recycled into drinking water, an efficient if unpleasant solution. As they approached the rock formation, their scanner detected movement. Indigenous predator, Nkrumah warned. Large, moving fast, heading straight for us. They barely had time to take defensive positions before the creature appeared. A 6-limbed monstrosity with chitin plates and multiple sensory organs, easily the size of a small car. It moved with surprising speed for its bulk, focusing immediately on the humans as potential prey. No conventional weapons, Tanaka reminded them. Drawing a simple utility blade, the only cutting tool they'd been permitted. Environmental hazards are our best bet. Chen analyzed their surroundings in seconds, a plan forming. Nkrumah, I need a distraction. Tanaka, those loose rocks above the outcropping. We can use the gravity to our advantage. What followed was a coordinated effort that displayed humanity's evolutionary heritage as persistence predators. Nkrumah drew the creature's attention, while Chen and Tanaka scaled the rock formation with painful effort, fighting against gravity with every movement. When the predator followed Nkrumah around the outcropping, they triggered a calculated rock slide that crushed one of its limbs, immobilizing it long enough for them to retreat to safer ground. By nightfall, they had secured a defensible position within a cave system, collected water from condensation on rock surfaces, and established communication with 2 other teams, the Vrel and a species called the Taiks, filter feeders from an oceanic world who were struggling severely with the arid conditions. We should assist them, Nkrumah suggested after receiving their distress signal. The Taiks will dehydrate within hours without intervention. The trial rules don't prohibit cooperation, Chen agreed, and we might need allies before this is over. Their decision to help the struggling Taiks proved pivotal. By sharing water collection techniques and helping the aquatic aliens find a sustainable microclimate, the humans gained valuable information about the planet's day-night cycle and dangerous nocturnal predators that the Taiks could sense through vibrations in the ground. The second day brought new challenges. A dramatic temperature drop that plunged the environment from scorching heat to near freezing within hours. The human team adapted quickly, using exothermic chemical reactions in their limited supplies to generate heat, while teaching the grateful Taiks how to conserve body temperature. Meanwhile, the Drak team was dominating the physical aspects of the trial, their silicon-based biology well suited to the harsh conditions. They watched the human Taiks' cooperation with what translated as disdain, making no effort to assist when a massive storm forced multiple teams to seek shelter in a shared cave system. The forced proximity created tension, especially when the Drak delegation leader, Granite Heart, confronted Commander Chen directly. Your species displays concerning behaviors, the massive silicon entity rumbled, translator converting their vibrational speech. You form alliances too quickly, adapt too readily, and show excessive tenacity. These are predator traits, unsuitable for Confederation harmony. Chen met the alien's compound sensory organs steadily. We see it differently. Cooperation is how humanity survived on Earth. We're stronger together than alone. A convenient philosophy for a species that cannot dominate through natural superiority. Granite Heart responded dismissively. The confrontation might have escalated further if not for an urgent alert from their environmental scanners. The storm had triggered a geological event. The cave system was becoming unstable, with toxic gas beginning to seep through newly formed fissures. What happened next would later be debated in Confederation councils for cycles to come. As the cave began to collapse, the human team coordinated an evacuation not just of themselves, but of all species present. Major Tanaka used her combat training to identify safe passages. Dr. Nkrumah adapted breathing filters to work for multiple biologies, and Commander Chen organized the disparate groups into an effective evacuation unit. When a secondary collapse trapped 2 Drakh in a rapidly filling chamber, Chen and Tanaka went back for them, despite the obvious risk. The humans used their smaller size to navigate the tight passage, then employed simple mechanical leverage principles to free the massive silicon beings. During their escape, a falling rock formation struck Chen, crushing her left arm. The injury would have incapacitated most Confederation species, yet she continued functioning, using Nkrumah's medical assistance to stabilize the limb before proceeding to lead the group to safety. By the 3rd day, something remarkable had occurred. The surviving teams, human, Vrel, Tayix, and Drakh, had formed an impromptu coalition. Each species contributed their evolutionary advantages. The Vrel's sensory capabilities, the Tayix's predictive awareness of environmental changes, the Drakh's physical power, and humanity's adaptive problem-solving. Together, they traversed the final stretch to the extraction point, a journey across an exposed plain plagued by predators and whipping, caustic winds. The coalition moved as one unit, protecting their weakest members, sharing resources, and overcoming obstacles through complementary abilities. When they finally reached the extraction point, exhausted but alive, they found Ambassador Xurax and the Confederation evaluation team waiting. The observers' expressions, translated through subtle color changes and posture shifts, registered surprise, confusion, and in some cases, alarm. "You were supposed to compete," one evaluator said, skin fluctuating between confusion purple and concern yellow. The trial was designed to test individual species capability. Commander Chen, her injured arm now set in a makeshift splint, stood with representatives from each team. "We recognize that survival was more likely through cooperation than competition, so we adapted the parameters." "That's not how the trials work," the evaluator insisted. "Perhaps," Chen replied. "That's why your Confederation has never encountered a species like us before. On Earth, we learned long ago that adaptation isn't just physical. It's social, cultural, and philosophical. We survived not because we were the strongest or fastest predators, but because we learned to cooperate, to use collective intelligence to overcome challenges no individual could face alone." Ambassador Xurax stepped forward, their skin shifting to a color the humans had never seen before, a deep, resonant blue with flecks of gold. "The human speaks wisdom," they announced formally. "For 12,000 cycles, the Confederation has categorized worlds and species according to rigid parameters. We believe that Paradise worlds produced the highest forms of intelligence, while Death worlds created only brutes and savages." Xurax gestured to the assembled teams. "Yet here we witness something our models never predicted. A Death world species whose primary evolutionary advantage is not physical prowess, but adaptive intelligence and cooperative capability, so powerful it can unite disparate biologies toward common survival." The declaration sparked immediate controversy among the evaluation team. Some observers registered agreement, others alarm, and a few outright hostility. The debate continued during the return journey to the Confederation Hub Station, growing to include the full council as evidence from the trials was reviewed. 2 weeks later, Commander Chen and her team were summoned to the Grand Hall of the Confederation Council. The vast chamber hosted representatives from all member species, their diversity of forms and biologies a testament to the adaptability of life itself. High Counselor Trezek addressed the assembly, their ancient form floating in a suspension field at the chamber center. "The human trials have challenged our most fundamental assumptions," they began, their translated voice resonating throughout the hall. "For the first time in our history, we face a species that defies categorization according to our established metrics." Murmurs rippled through the gathered representatives. Humans evolved on what we classify as a death world, yet developed technology, art, philosophy, and cooperation to levels matching our most advanced members. They display physical resilience beyond most known species, combined with problem-solving capabilities previously believed incompatible with such evolutionary origins. Trezik's suspension field shifted, bringing them closer to the human delegation. Most significantly, they have demonstrated an ability we have never properly valued: adaptive cooperation across biological boundaries. During the final trial, humans did not merely survive. They ensured the survival of others, at risk to themselves, creating spontaneous alliances that maximized collective outcomes. The chamber fell silent as Trezik delivered the Council's verdict. The Confederation hereby recognizes humanity as a unique classification, apex adaptives. Earth is reclassified not as a death world, but as a crucible world, an environment that forges adaptability itself as an evolutionary advantage. The pronouncement caused visible shock among many representatives. Such a fundamental reclassification was unprecedented. Furthermore, Trezik continued, humanity is invited to join the Confederation not merely as a member species, but as founders of a new cooperative initiative. We believe the human perspective on adaptive problem-solving and cross-species cooperation represents an evolutionary approach we have overlooked to our detriment. Commander Chen stepped forward, her recently healed arm now fully functional thanks to Confederation medical technology. On behalf of humanity, we accept your invitation, she said, her voice clear and confident. But we propose a modification to your offer. Rather than creating a separate initiative, we wish to integrate our approach throughout the existing Confederation structure. She gestured to the diverse assembly. The strengths we discovered during the trials came not from human exceptionalism, but from the combination of different evolutionary advantages. The Vrl's sensory capabilities, the Taix's environmental sensitivity, the Drak's physical resilience, combined with human adaptability, created something greater than any single species could achieve alone. Chen's proposal sparked hours of debate, but the outcome was never really in doubt. The evidence from the trials was irrefutable. Cooperation across evolutionary boundaries created outcomes that exceeded the sum of their parts. 6 months later, the first human delegation took up permanent residence on the Confederation's central world. They brought with them a new perspective, one that valued the evolutionary advantages of all worlds, from paradise to Deathworld, seeing each as a unique crucible that forged different but equally valuable adaptations. As Ambassador Chen, formerly commander, prepared to address the Confederation Assembly for the first time, she reflected on the journey that had brought humanity to this moment. Earth, their beautiful, terrible, wonderful death world, had prepared them not just to survive, but to thrive among the stars. We come from a world that taught us to adapt or die, she began her historic address. But what we learned was something more profound. That the greatest adaptation of all is the ability to connect, to cooperate, to combine our strengths and compensate for our weaknesses through collective action. She looked out at the assembled representatives of nearly 400 worlds, her gaze steady and confident. The stars have always called to humanity, challenging us to reach beyond our limits. Today, we answer that call not as conquerors, but as connectors, bringing together the diverse adaptations that evolution has created across our galaxy. Together, we will face challenges no single species could overcome alone. After all, she concluded with a smile, that's what Deathworlders do best. We don't just survive. We help others thrive. The Confederation would never be the same again, and neither would humanity.